Tony Stark learns from every mistake, and we've seen countless armors and technologies up to this day. Today, we're ranking the top 20 most powerful Iron Man armor. At the bottom of the list, we have Mark 1. The Mark I was born in an Afghan cave with Ho Yinsen, built from scavenged Stark Industries missiles the Ten Rings had stockpiled. It packed a single-use flamethrower on the left arm and 2 shoulder rockets that fired once and were gone. Mobility was brutal. Every step sounded like a refrigerator falling downstairs. What most fans forget is that the chest reactor wasn't originally built to power flight. Its primary job was keeping shrapnel away from Stark's heart with an electromagnet. The short boosters gave him exactly one desperate leap before crash landing in the desert. It's the weakest armor on paper, but without this rust bucket, no Iron Man story ever exists. Number 19, Mark 42. The Mark 42 is the prototype that broke the internet and then broke itself on camera. Built during Stark's post-New York paranoia spiral, its big trick was prehensile deployment. Each piece flew independently and snapped onto Tony through implant chips in his forearm. The fatal flaw was that Tony sacrificed structural integrity for convenience. A single truck collision shattered it, and Killian's extremist soldiers tore it apart with their bare hands. Here's what most viewers miss. The Mark 42 never had a fully stable flight system, which is exactly why it kept face-planting every time Stark tried to summon it across long distances. Number 18, Mark 5. The Mark V is the briefcase armor, and it exists because Stark refused to ever be caught off guard again after Obadiah Stane's betrayal. Compact enough to fold into a carry-on, it deployed in under 10 seconds at the Monaco Grand Prix. The trade-off was obvious. Thinner plating and a smaller reactor meant limited flight time and weaker repulsor. Still, it tanked Whiplash's plasma whips long enough for Stark to survive, which is more than the Mark 42 ever managed. A detail that surprises most viewers, the Mark V was the first Stark armor designed without full Jarvis integration, because Tony wanted an emergency suit that could run on backup systems alone. Number 17, Mark III. The Mark III is where Iron Man actually became Iron Man. Stark built it after his Mark II froze solid at high altitude, so he alloyed the plating with gold titanium to handle extreme temperatures and icing. This thing shrugged off a direct tank shell hit with nothing but a scuff mark and swatted 2 F-22 Raptors out of the sky. The Unibeam could vaporize reinforced steel, and the repulsors threw Ironmonger straight through a glass roof. Its only real weakness was the old palladium core, which drained under sustained heavy fire. A fun truth, the gold titanium ratio wasn't picked for looks. Stark calculated the exact alloy percentages to optimize weight to durability for hypersonic flight stress. Number 16, Mark IV. The Mark IV is the Mark III, with every lesson written into its bones. Stark replaced the damaged post-Ironmonger frame with a refined gold titanium shell and rebuilt the internal systems from the ground up, and it handled heat dissipation noticeably better than its predecessor. Every weapon system carried over, including the Unibeam and shoulder micromunition. The dark truth is that Stark was secretly dying from palladium poisoning the entire time he wore this suit, meaning the armor was peaking in performance while its pilot was slowly killing himself just to keep it powered. Before we continue, if you subscribe to my channel, like the video, and use your hype points, you'd be helping me and my videos get featured a lot. Now, let's continue. Number 15, Mark 40 shotgun. The Mark 40 is a speedster armor. Stark built after the Battle of New York exposed a terrifying gap. He couldn't catch a nuclear missile fast enough during atmospheric re-entry. Shotgun was engineered for exactly one purpose: hypersonic travel. Its frame is aerodynamically minimal, packed with reinforced boosters that let it outpace every other suit in the Iron Legion. The catch is predictable. Armor plating is thin because mass kills acceleration. A detail most miss, the Mark 40 was theoretically capable of breaking the sound barrier in under 2 seconds, but couldn't take a single RPG hit without crumpling like aluminum foil. Number 14, Mark 33 Silver Centurion. The Mark 33 Silver Centurion is a specialized Iron Legion armor built around the Energy Redistribution Armor System, which absorbs incoming energy attacks and channels that power back into its own plasma discharge weapons. Stark designed it after realizing his enemies were leaning heavily on energy-based weaponry following the Whiplash fight. The weakness is average kinetic protection, brilliant against plasma but ordinary against a tank shell. Number 13, Mark 38 Igor. The Mark 38 Igor was built purely for powerlifting, specifically as a contingency against Hulk going rogue. It stands over 9 feet tall with hydraulic augmented limbs that multiply Stark's strength by roughly 5 times the standard armor output. In Iron Man 3, Igor held up a collapsing oil rig structure to save trapped workers, which means it could lift something heavier than a tank on its shoulders. The weakness is mobility. Igor can't fly well and moves like a construction crane in combat. Number 12. Sakaar Hulkbuster. The Sakaar Hulkbuster is the what-if armor Tony built as a slave engineer in the Grandmaster's gladiator pits after crash landing on the junk planet. He scavenged scrap metal from the arena floor and built a Hulkbuster-class suit from nothing, then used it to defeat the Grandmaster's reigning champion in the arena. The strength is its raw, improvisational engineering. The weakness is that it lacked any nanotech or repulsor refinement, so it struggled in the eventual fight against Thanos. The surprising fact, this is the only Iron Man armor in the multiverse confirmed to have been built without a single piece of Stark Industries hardware. Number 11. Mark 6. The Mark 6 is the armor that literally saved Stark's life. He was dying from palladium poisoning until he synthesized a brand new element, and the Mark 6 was redesigned to house that triangular reactor. It introduced the anti-tank laser, capable of slicing through heavy armored vehicles like warm butter. The weakness is that the laser was single-use and needed a full reactor cycle to recharge mid-fight. Number 10. Mark 7. The Mark 7 is Stark's Avengers-era masterpiece, designed after he realized he couldn't afford to wait for a briefcase to unfold during a full-scale invasion. It deploys from bracelet triggers and locks into place in seconds, even in freefall. Unlike the Mark 6, its lasers were reusable and fed directly from the arc reactor, letting Stark carve through Chitauri Leviathans with sustained beam fire. The Mark 7 technically survived a nuclear detonation in space and a freefall re-entry, making it one of the toughest pre-nanotech armors ever built. Number 9. Mark 43. The Mark 43 is the fully grown-up version of the disappointing Mark 42. Stark took every failure from the prehensile prototype and reinforced it with thicker plating, a stabilized flight system, and battlefield-grade repulsors. It's the main suit of Age of Ultron's opening Hydra raid, and it shredded Strucker's automated defenses in Sokovia without breaking stride. The weakness is that it still carried the prehensile deployment system. A lesser-known fact, the Mark 43 was the last armor Jarvis ever piloted before being uploaded and transformed into Vision. Number 8. Mark 45. The Mark 45 is the suit Stark wore during the Sokovia evacuation, and it's one of his most balanced designs. The hexagonal plating wasn't aesthetic, it was structural reinforcement, layered to distribute impact force across multiple panels simultaneously. It held up against vibranium-coated Ultron sentries and Legion Prime himself without catastrophic failure. The surprising fact, the Mark 45's hex pattern was directly inspired by carbon nanotube lattice geometry Stark actively researched alongside Bruce Banner. Number 7. Mark 46. The Mark 46 is the Civil War suit, carrying more integrated tech than any previous Stark armor. Micro-storage technology let Tony pack multiple weapon systems into a slimmer frame, and it deployed faster than anything before it. It took direct hits from Captain America's vibranium shield and Bucky's titanium prosthetic arm, and kept fighting through the Leipzig airport battle. The Mark 46 was the first Stark armor partially built to match United Nations oversight specifications following the Sokovia Accord. Number 6. Mark 47. The Mark 47 is the homecoming suit, basically the Mark 46 with every hard lesson from Siberia baked into its frame. Stark added extra jet thrusters, an upgraded AI routing system to replace Jarvis gaps, and a redesigned chest reactor for higher sustained energy output. It also came loaded with an emergency parachute deployment system because Stark realized after the ferry incident he couldn't always catch people mid-fall. The Mark 47 was the first armor Tony gave remote override access to Peter Parker. Number 5. Mark 44 Hulkbuster. The Mark 44 Hulkbuster is the suit that accomplished the impossible, physically defeating Hulk in a one-on-one fight on live television in Johannesburg. Built with direct input from Bruce Banner during calmer moments, it's a modular armor where the Mark 43 serves as the internal cockpit, while additional armor components drop in from the orbiting Veronica satellite. Damaged panels eject mid-combat and get replaced with fresh ones, a detail that stuns fans. Banner himself personally approved every restraint system on the Hulkbuster. Number 4. Mark 48 Hulkbuster Mk2. The Mark 48 is the second generation Hulkbuster used during the Battle of Wakanda, and it's mechanically superior to the Mark 44 inches every measurable way. Integrated nanotech support elements, improved thruster arrays, and fully independent operation without needing Veronica resupply make it the most self-sufficient heavy armor Stark ever built. Bruce Banner ripped off Cull Obsidian's arm by shoving it through an active force field. The Mark 48 was originally built for Tony to wear personally before he committed to nanotech. Number 3. Mark 49 Rescue. The Mark 49 Rescue is Pepper Potts' personal armor, and it's borderline equal to Stark's own late-stage suits in combat capability. Built around nanotechnology, it deploys on mental command and carries multiple repulsor configurations tuned for both defensive and offensive scenarios. During the final endgame battle, Pepper held her own against Thanos' elite forces with minimal formal combat training. Number 2. Mark 50. The Mark 50 is the bleeding-edge nanotech armor, the suit that went toe-to-toe with Thanos on Titan and actually drew blood from the Mad Titan himself. It generates any weapon on demand from a chest-housed nanite reservoir. Shields, blades, plasma cannons, and rocket launchers appear instantly. The weakness is that every impact consumes irreplaceable nanoparticles. The surprising fact, the Mark 50 has no physical skeleton. The entire structure is held together by magnetic nanite cohesion. Number 1. Mark 85. The Mark 85 is the absolute peak of Tony Stark's lifetime of engineering, the armor that finally ended Thanos. It solved the Mark 50's biggest flaw by generating energy-based shields and weapons instead of constantly burning through nanoparticles, meaning its defenses regenerate almost instantly between impact. It absorbed Thor's lightning mid-battle and redirected that raw Asgardian energy directly into Thanos. If Stark had this suit during the 2018 Titan fight, the nanotech energy absorption system would have neutralized Thanos' Power Stone strikes entirely. If you've watched this far, don't forget to like the video and use your hype points. If you subscribe and turn on notifications, you can be instantly informed about all my videos. See you in the next videos.